Today we're speaking with Dr. Dennis Ray, who is a University Distinguished Professor in the College of Agriculture and Life Sciences at the University of Arizona. His research interests include the genetics of crop plants and the domestication of new crops. And at present, his research emphasizes the development of crops suitable for cultivation in arid and semi-arid environments, such as guayule and guar. So welcome, Dr. Ray.
And thank you, Seth. Good to see you.
All right, good to see you too. So today we're going to talk just a little bit about your career. And why don't we just go ahead and jump into the first question, if you don't mind.
Well, go ahead.
All right. So what did you think that you wanted to do for a career when you were in middle school? And then what was your first job?
Well, let's just say that middle school was a long time ago for me. And to be truthful, I'm not really sure what I wanted to do as a career because I don't think I thought about it at that time. Mostly I enjoyed playing sports and just doing things with my friends. But I would have to guess, the things that crossed my mind, well, oh, maybe I'll be a doctor or a teacher or a musician, So I can't say that I thought any of them at the time in middle school. But I can tell you that what I'm doing today is not anything, I could not have imagined it when I was in middle school. Okay? Now, my first job, real job, when I was in high school, I was a summer camp counselor. And I taught swimming and sports.
So I think that's important for people to hear, is that you don't have to know exactly what you're going to do in order to find yourself in an interesting place one day.
Oh, I think even when I was in college, I wasn't sure exactly what I wanted to do. So it takes a while. It takes a while. Everyone should. And I don't think you should make up your mind too soon because you just don't know how many things are out there. I came to college and suddenly I found out, oh, there's geography and geology and all these different things I'd never heard of before. And, they were all really cool and interesting. And even things I thought I knew about, there was so much more to them. So I don't think you can really make up your mind. And I think it's actually, you do yourself a disservice to make it up too quickly. You want to keep an open mind and have a lot of experiences and try things and learn about things.
Let's find out what you're doing now, and then maybe that'll give people some idea of at least one option that's out there in the world. So my next question is, how did you become interested in arid lands in particular? And then what is a typical workday like for you now?
Okay, well, arid lands is, I live in an arid land. And that's part of it, certainly. Although originally from the Midwest, from Missouri, my family moved to the West when I was young, and it was a desert. It was a desert. And I became interested in it. I was interested again in different things. But for instance, when I went to college, I was interested in zoology and music and history, but I didn't know what to do with any of them really other than teach. And, then when I completed college, I went in the Army. And then after that, I taught middle school and high school. I taught general science and biology, but I taught in an area that was an arid land. And so I put together whole sections on all these cool arid land plants and animals and how they survive and how they're different than we find them in other areas. And so I became, wow, this is really cool, because it's hot out here and it's dry out here. And these guys are surviving and doing well. So that's sort of how I got into arid lands. And I just stayed in it. And I eventually went back to school and I studied genetics and agriculture because, I really enjoy growing things. I like doing things with my hands. I like getting dirty, mixing up dirt and planting things and, just being involved. So working with plants was sort of a no-brainer. And agriculture, my family was agricultural, so I was really getting back to my roots, but it felt very good. So that's how I got sort of into agriculture and arid lands, which was a much longer answer than you probably wanted. But
Okay.
as far as my typical day, there is no typical day. Every day is different, and that's part of the fun of it. That's part of the fun of it. I don't, I don't go at 8 o'clock and I do this, and 9 o'clock I do this, or 10 o'clock I do this. You know, some day, and part of that's because I work with plants, and plants grow. Plants grow. They, you put them in the ground, but wait for them to come up. So you have planting, and then they grow, and then they flower, and all these times you have to do something different. And of course, you have to keep them alive. And you have weeds and all this other stuff. And then they get bigger and they, have whatever it is we're going to harvest, and we harvest. And then, what do we do with the product? And we start over, and we do it in the field, we do it in the greenhouse so we can do it year round. So I might go to the greenhouse and work for 2 hours in the morning, then come back to campus and, work on teaching a class. And teaching's different too, because we don't teach you everything you need to know. What we try to do is give you the basics so you can learn, because a whole lot of the things I teach about now and I do were not invented or discovered when I was a student. And so you want to be able to learn throughout your life. And so these skills that you say, well, will I ever use this? And you never know. The idea is to just open yourself up, become excited about learning, and try some new things. But every day is different, and every day is fun.
Well, that is really interesting. And I think that that's pretty neat that you found a way to keep learning and sort of always keeping your life exciting. So maybe that's a good reason to go into a career like this, if you can find your way into it, I guess. All right, so more specifically, what role does your job play in understanding a bioeconomy of an arid region?
Well, bioeconomy is a very large area. I mean, of course, economics, sociology, agronomy, horticulture, soils, water, all these things are combined with the plants. I mean, we're doing things with people out in the community at this point. And so you have to understand, what are their backgrounds, what are their cultures, what's the area like. Uh, we can't plant everywhere because we don't have the water we want everywhere. We have transportation issues. So you have to, and this is what I mean, you end up doing things that you weren't trained to do, but you can learn about them. You learn from other people. And of course, I'm interested in arid regions. 40% of the Earth's land mass is arid, semi-arid. So everything we do here is applicable in other parts of the world. I mean, I have plants in India, in South Africa, in Israel, in Italy, in France, in Mexico, in Argentina. I have plants all over the world, because there are arid areas all over the world. I mean, things we've developed, things that we do on this project.
Wow. All right. That is awesome. I didn't know that statistic, and I think I should. 40% of the Earth's landmass is arid. I've taken a note. I'm going to remember it now. All right. Well, let's see. I had another question that has to do specifically with teaching, actually. And so I've always been kind of curious, especially when it comes to a research professor, is how do you feel that teaching students helps your research? Or conversely, how do you feel that doing research helps you teach students?
Well, actually, what a lot of people don't understand is that a professor in a major university, a research university, part of the job is research and part of the job is teaching. I mean, it's defined for us. We're supposed to do both. If I wanted to only do research, I would be in industry or work for the federal government like USDA. If I only wanted to teach, there are universities that are essentially teaching universities. But I wanted to do both because you gain from both. You absolutely gain from both. By teaching, it keeps my mind fresh and I get new ideas for research, uh, and it changes with the course and changes with the students. As I said before, many things weren't discovered when I was a student, so I have to understand them and learn them so that I can teach them. And teaching is helping people understand and how to work things. I also gain a lot from the students because they have very good minds. They're smart. They don't have as much experience as I do, but that doesn't mean they aren't as smart as I am. And so, they have ideas and they ask questions, and that often leads me to something interesting or an idea. So, working with students is great. And the research, of course, I have to stay on top of my field, and that comes back to the classroom. All the time, I'm talking about examples when I teach about things that I do in research to tie it together with what they're doing. I have to admit that when I retire, what I will miss the most will be working with the students, because that's very exciting. The ideas, the thoughts, the excitement they have about life and learning is really, really interesting and great.
Do any of your students ever end up working with you on your projects?
Oh, absolutely. I right now have about 7 undergraduate students who work with me. Almost all have taken a class from me at some point. Some have also just heard, asked if they can work. But absolutely. One of the advantages of a research university is we encourage our students to do research. We encourage them to do research because everything in life, there's no way you can understand what it's like until you try it. So it's a lot easier to try research as an undergraduate and say, yeah, this really excites me, or, oh man, I never want to do this again. It doesn't matter if you want to be a physician or a dentist or whatever it is. You should, a veterinarian, you should find out as much as you can about what it's really like, follow someone, get experiences. So yeah, absolutely. I have students work with me. And some, I mean, they're really bright. They come up with good things and have good ideas. They work hard. I like it.
I think that's covering a lot of what we wanted to convey for our audience. But I do have one last important question for you, and that is, which United States baseball stadium has the greenest grass?
Oh, my goodness. Something close to my heart. Well, everyone should know you can have a lot of other interests outside of what you do to make money. And one of mine is baseball. I love baseball. And my wife and I have seen a game in every major league stadium and many minor league stadiums. And it's a great way to see the country and meet people and do things. But this is a question I have to have a prejudiced answer to. My favorite team and my favorite stadium is Wrigley Field and the Cubs, so that has the greenest grass.
All right, that's a good answer. I'll take it. We'll have to conduct a study to really follow up on
Oh
this.
yeah, absolutely. Well, there are some beautiful stadia. Absolutely. Baltimore is gorgeous, has a beautiful field. Kansas City, these are great places. San Francisco. So there are some other good, but Wrigley Field, that's it. You want to watch baseball.
All right. Well, thank you so much. We really appreciate you coming and taking the time to talk to our watchers about one way to spend your life as an adult. So
It's my pleasure. Thank you very much for asking.